This is Kits and Wagers. I'm Adam Zdroik, joined by Chris Owen for Game Week 38 in the Premier League. We have 20 bets. I have 10 bets. Chris has 10 bets. We got a busy show for everyone, and we're going to just try and get through all of these 10 matches. Hopefully, we're going to make some sense. Hopefully, we're going to make some money. Chris, what's up? Friday Junior. What's going on? Ready for the final show of the season here?
Couldn't be more excited, Adam. We're here. It's 38 weeks later, 38 game weeks later. We finally reached the end of the season. This is the second season that we're completing of doing the Kits and Wagers podcast, which is, I think, pretty cool. It's been a pleasure doing it the past 2 years here. And your record, I just want to single this out here before we move any further. But Adam is 61-38 this season, which is, I think most casinos in Las Vegas or anywhere in the world would likely hire him if they only knew. So that's pretty impressive. We're going to go down 10 bets here. I think last year we also did this, and Adam definitely beat me in that one, and he's beating me this season. So if you're going to listen to anything this week, it's likely that you should listen to Adam's bets. But
corner bets.
This is the Kits and Wagers podcast. I had to break out a new kit that I got. It's not every day you get a new kit. So I got the Ballard. I live here in
Rubens.
The neighborhood here is Ballard. They have a USL team. I think it's in USL 2. Ballard FC went out to a friendly match last week against Vancouver Academy team. I think it was their U21s. But this is one of their new kits this season. It's pretty cool. Also sponsored by the brewery that my girlfriend works at, Rubens Brews. And what do I have on deck here? This is Beers and Wagers this week. So I got a Rubens Pilsner, Czech style Pilsner. I've had honestly a lot of these, and they're a workhorse beer. You can have a couple of them, and they're worthwhile. So I got the Rubens Brew sponsor on the front here. I got the Rubens Brew beer, and if this goes a little long, I do have a second one ready should we need a second one. So I'm not gonna enough about the beers. I'm ready to get into some bets.
Well, I got the hometown.
Yes.
I got the Adams Zdroik kit here, pulling it back for the final show of the season. So we got that. I'm drinking a little, it's called Blurred Limes. If you're watching on YouTube or Twitter here, it's a key lime cream ale out of Grand Armory in Grand Haven, Michigan. So I always got to support the Michigan beers on the show here. But before we get started here, I did pull up some future bets that we made before the season. And we missed a couple things, but we got a couple right here. So Chris was 2-1. He had Arsenal top 4 at plus 130, Manchester City to win the league, and Haaland top scorer. He got that at plus 450 before the season. That bet, Manchester City to win and Haaland top scorer, was plus 450 before the season started. So those odds seem kind of crazy after we had the 38 weeks that we had, but if we remember correctly, I have a Man City fan in my life who keeps reminding me that a lot of people were bashing Haaland before he came to the Premier League, and those odds right there kind of show that a little bit. Plus 450. You also thought Fulham were going to get relegated. That was incorrect. As for me, I had Bournemouth to finish bottom. That one kind of failed a little bit. I took a random plus 10,000 bet on Zaha most goals. He missed about half the season, so that one didn't hit. I wasn't going to hit anyways. But I did hit Aston Villa to finish in the top half, and then Gabriel Jesus under 15.5 goals. That one looks like it's going to hit. So
I think we had a Jamie Vardy bet, too, in there somewhere that we discussed.
We talked about it. We didn't write it. It's not in the graphic that we made, but we did go back and forth a little bit on the show. So if you want that actual bet,
I think it was Jamie Vardy goals 10.5. I took the over, and you were adamant that you were going to take the under, and worked out for you.
All right, I'll take another one there for me. So 10 matches here. 10 matches, as Chris said. If you're looking for records for each of our teams here, I still haven't lost a Brentford game. I'm on a cold streak a little bit, but we're getting it back here. But as Chris said, 61-38. Chris is 47-44-2. I got the records up here on the screen if you're watching here, YouTube or Twitter. Up 2,631. This is on $100 bets. Chris is up 434. on the team parlay, it's up 704. I think that's actually, it might actually be 604. That graphic might be a lie. I'm not sure if I updated that one from last week, but it doesn't matter. It's up. No matter what, it's up. So, Chris, are you ready for this? Are you ready to, we're just going to go alphabetical order here, starting with this Arsenal game that
we do have a Steven Parada is drinking a peach wheat ale. He's letting us know in the comments. So if you are drinking a special beer for this final episode of Get Some Wagers for the 2022-2023 season, let us know. So the peach wheat ale is really tasty.
Yeah, it's got to be a good one. I will note this is Thursday night. All press conferences are going to be taking place Friday. We don't have press conference information going into the show. We didn't want to do, a Friday 6 p.m., 9 p.m. type of show, unfortunately. So we're doing it Thursday. That's what we've done all season. So we're missing some injury news. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about some of that, but I'm not sure how much any injury news is going to matter because we're going to get lineup rotation anyways. So we'll see. But Arsenal home against Wolverhampton is the first match we're talking about. Arsenal minus 275 to win. Wolverhampton plus 700. The draw is plus 450. Chris, what are you thinking with this bet?
Well, Arsenal, nothing to play for here. I mean, Wolverhampton the same. Wolverhampton safe. Arsenal, of course, wasn't able to reach the mountaintop here. But looking back at some of their games, they're consistently 2-1, 2-0, 2-1, no more than 3 goals typically. And a lot of these are honestly under 2 goals. So I looked at the unders immediately. Anytime I see Wolverhampton on the schedule, I'm like, all right, they're going to play the Wolverhampton way, which is, pretty defensively. So I look for the unders. But interesting enough, rarely can you find a under 3.5 goals at anywhere near like minus 150. It's typically higher than that because under 3.5 goals is I guess it is. I'm sorry, you're getting a lot of value there, but the under 2.5 goals is plus 175. They have the under 3.5 at minus 140, which is interesting. So I took the under 2.5 because we don't go to minus 130 or I guess lower than that. So I'm thinking not a whole lot of goals here. Probably a 2-0 affair for Arsenal. Might be tough for Wolves to find the back of the net in this game, and I'm not sure if I mean, like you mentioned already, going to be tough to see who comes out in what lineup here, but I suspect that we might see maybe a couple youth players for either team, and should be interesting what we get here. Arsenal at home too, so I would expect like a 1-0, 2-0 win here out of Arsenal.
Arsenal coming off a loss against Nottingham Forest, which kept Nottingham Forest in the Premier League. I did see Mikel Arteta come out and talk about they kind of need to do a little bit of a, I don't know if rebuild, rebrand, something like that. The past couple months has not been very kind to Arsenal, and we'll see how they come out for this one. Their home finale, how much does that mean? Wolves have been safe for a little bit, and they've been rotating a little bit the last few matches. So I think that one's just going to be – this is just one of those games. There's a lot of games where two teams don't have anything to play for. I got 10 corners bets as a spoiler here. So we're going to be full corners. We got a lot of 0.75s, a lot of 0.25s because that's kind of what I'm tied to here. So I'll just get this out of the way. So a 0.25 bet. So you got one side of your bet so let's say it's minus 0.25. One side of the bet is -1. The other side of the bet is basically a pick 'em. So in a minus 0.25 situation, you're going to have if you hit the -1, if it's -1, actually.
I always love this part of the show.
Okay, let me do this again. So for this Wolverhampton bet, I got Wolves plus 3.75 corners. That's at at minus 120. So that means if Wolves are within 4 corners, you get half your money back because half of your money is on +4 and half of your money is on plus 3.5. Okay, yeah, I said that correct. So if it's 4, you get half your money back. If it's 3, you win both of those bets. Does that make sense, Chris? Did I get that right out of the way?
I think it does. If it's over, say if they're within like 3.5, then you get all the money back.
Okay, there we go. There we go. We got it. We got it.
That's what you want. So if they're within 3, then even better. If they're within 4, then it's half your money back.
Yep. Correct. So my thoughts are like I watched that match against Nottingham Forest, and these guys are done. They're done. They put in Thomas Partey, played right back. I don't think there's just going to be a ton of pressing, and usually the pressing that leads to corners and everything like that. Maybe Arsenal come out and just completely dominate, that kind of thing. But I think Wolverhampton will be. I think this will be like an under corner bet if you want to bet unders instead. I think it'll be a tight game in terms of that. But so I'm going Wolves plus 3.75 corners. Chris has under 2.5 goals.
We've got Steven Parada in the comments again. Too many peach ales to understand that one, which is honestly fair. We've also got
John McKechnie here poured some hazy suds. We got Chris Begley. He's drinking, looks like a Cabernet Franc. So a little classier, I guess you could say. We got wine and wagers going on.
Yeah, I love that.
Going on here as well. So next match. I did not write all these down in alphabetical order, but I think I got it correctly here. So Aston Villa are home against Brighton. Aston Villa. So this one actually means a little bit. Brighton, they just celebrated. They got a point off Manchester City on Wednesday. They have nothing to play for. They celebrated after that game. Aston Villa, they probably need to win to get the 7th place in the table. That is the European Conference League spot, which is where West Ham are playing the title game after the season here. So Aston Villa, if they win, they're 1 point ahead Tottenham. So that it kind of depends on what Tottenham does. But Aston Villa are plus 105 to win. Brighton are plus 225 to win. Draw is plus 310. So I guess the question is, do you think Aston Villa can get the win here at home?
I do, and that's my bet for this game. Aston Villa, like one of the very few teams this week who has. I mean, there's 3 teams in the relegation scrap who have, a lot to play for. But Aston Villa, one of, I guess, pretty much 4 teams that have something to play for. Tottenham as well. But yeah, them at home. They're playing Brighton, who's obviously been excellent. Kudos to them. First time playing European football in their history, which is a pretty big accomplishment for them. They held Manchester City to a 1-1 draw. I believe that was yesterday. So yeah, great, good for Brighton. All good and gone. But I like Aston Villa here. We know what they've done since Unai Emery's joined the club. They just got a really good result. Even last weekend against Liverpool, 1-1. They've been. I would be interested to see, after the World Cup or since Unai Emery's joined Aston Villa, they have to be like at or near the top of the table in terms of points gained. They're playing at home. We know that most teams playing in the Premier League are typically picking up points at home. I think, we'll probably see some rotation from Brighton here, and Aston Villa with a lot to play for. They are on 58 points. Tottenham's on 57. They actually have the same goal difference of +4. So Villa really have a lot to do here. That they do have to win. I'm taking the money line at plus 105. I think that we'll continue to see what we've seen since Emery's joined. Them winning at home, holding tough teams away, and I just think that with Brighton not having a ton to play for, I think the Villa can go and win at home.
Yeah, Aston Villa have been pretty good at home lately. I think they've allowed 1 goal in their last 6 home matches, I want to say. I think they've won all of those as well, including the last time. The only time they actually allowed a goal was a Harry Kane PK, which was a game. They were winning 2-0, and Kane got that late PK. But I'm on your side. I also wrote a betting article. Check that out. It's up at RotoWire. It's up on the soccer portion of the site. I have this bet in that article. So there are 3 other bets that you can check out in the article. But I do have this bet in my article. I like Aston Villa to win. Unai Emery, these managers played each other earlier in the season. Brighton at home only had 7 shots in that match. So I just like Emery. I like the matchup. I like how they've been playing at home. So I'm on your bet, and that's kind of goes into mine as well. I got Aston Villa minus 0.25 corners in the first half at plus 105. I just think they're going to have more corners in the first half. I think they're going to be going for it. They went for it a little bit against Liverpool last week, and I actually lost a bet because they scored too early for me. They got 3 corners. I had over 3.5 corners. Unfortunately, they did not push at all in the second half, and that bet did not hit. But This is a first half bet. Aston Villa minus 0.25 corners in the first half. That's plus 105. Chris, Aston Villa money line plus 105. Let's keep moving here. Brentford home against Manchester City. Manchester City won the title. Pep Guardiola said, what was it? His players drank all of the beer in Manchester before that Brighton match. I think that was the quote.
Jack Grealish was out of pocket, probably just enjoying himself.
There were Grealish was out of the squad. There's 3 defenders: Ruben Dias, Akanji, maybe someone else is completely out of the squad.
Yeah,
it had to be because they're probably still a little hungover a little bit. So we'll see what their mindset is in this one. We'll see who actually starts. I probably will get like a Cole Palmer start. Rico Lewis will be back in there as well. I mean, they have a week until the FA Cup final and then the Champions League final week after that. So we'll see if Haaland starts. It's a guessing game right now what they're going to do. They at least have a week before their next match. So it's not like they're really running these guys into the ground. But Brentford at home, played them, been playing them all season here. But Brentford are plus 295, Manchester City minus 115, draws plus 295. Brentford, nothing to play for here, but do you think this is Manchester City put an A squad out here and just carve them up, or do you think Brentford put up a fight here?
Two things. City's B squad is better than most teams' A squad, so like there's that. You know, they can go out and put out their B team and beat most teams in the Premier League. So that's one. The second part is I feel like it would be insane to play Erling Haaland in a game that means nothing. Mm-hmm. In this instance where they have 2 cup finals, you know,
he started on Wednesday and he missed a couple of good chances too.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, I don't know. It seems like why put him back out there if you don't have to, when you've got, you know, FA Cup final in 1 week and then you have an even bigger match in 2 weeks. And, you know, chasing a little bit of history here with the treble or the quad, I guess you could call it. So I would be, I think he probably plays, but I would be a little bit weary of that. But yeah, quick note is a friend texted me like he said Erling Haaland has more goals than Chelsea have scored all season. I was like, wow, that's impressive. But even more so impressive, Erling Haaland has more goals than 14 of the Premier League's 20 teams, I think. So kind of interesting. Okay, excuse me. That's at home. So most teams, he's scoring more goals overall on the season than most teams have scored at home all season.
Okay, at home, got it.
Sorry. But yeah, pretty nuts. So, anyways, my bet here, I think that, you know, like I mentioned, Man City's, they're gonna go their B team. They can go out there and score on anyone. So they should have no problem doing that. And I don't know what we're gonna see from Brentford here. Of course, Ivan Toney suspended for, you know, the better part of next season too. But I think we'll see goals. And this one comes from the laboratory of Adam Zdroik. He sent me what was that the other day? Looking back at the past 2 seasons results for these teams. Man City won last year. They won 3-2, 5 total goals in that one. The season before, in a game that meant nothing, they won 5-0. So, you know, betting the over here, I think, is the play. I think I'm going to go over 3.5, and that was plus 145.
Over 3.5. Yeah, this is a weird one. Brentford have been feisty at times, and they're a good team at home. And part of this bet, a lot of this bet, I guess, is kind of leaning off of what Manchester City have done since the title's been locked up. It's been a lot of passing the ball around. They're just passing around. It's kind of they had 2-3 corners against Brighton. They're just not pressing. They're just not sending in those crosses. It's more of, you know, passing around, try and get the easy goal kind of thing. I mean, even the crosses, it's when Haaland gets it, those aren't even being deflected there. But Brentford plus 1.75 corners. This is for the entire game. This is a pretty small number here, but I just think that maybe Manchester City will kind of have the edge a little bit in the first half and show their will and that they're the better team and kind of thing. But, you know, once it gets in the second half, Brentford are playing for their fans. Their fans will be cheering them on to end the season here. I just think that they're probably going to maybe have more opportunities in the second half where City maybe get some more rotation in. just going to be passing the ball. I don't think there's going to be a ton really that happens. So Brentford plus 1.75 corners total. That's minus 115. And then Chris has over 3.5 goals at plus 145.
Adam, Brentford beat City away at the Etihad earlier this season, 2-1. Any thoughts about taking Brentford money line plus 295 or a double chance if that's even worth it?
I may have looked at double chance if I wasn't doing 10 corner bets. I'll say that.
Okay. All right.
I do think that's a pretty reasonable route. I mean, granted, they played drunk against Brighton and still got a point at Brighton. So, yeah. Well, I mean, we'll see here. We'll see what this Brentford lineup looks like. I don't think Brentford's going to rotate too much. I mean, this is playing the champions. This could be playing, the treble winners here. If you can beat the treble winners 2 times in one season, that's a pretty good something to write down for Thomas Frank and all the fans there. Something to take away from the season. If you can take down Manchester City 2 times in the season, that'd be something for them, I think. So
they've only lost 4 times all season in the league too. So whatever that means. But yeah, the double chance for Brentford is minus 105.
Not too bad. About even odds.
Yeah.
All right. Chelsea home against Newcastle. We just saw Chelsea. They went down 4-0 against Manchester United earlier Thursday. They actually, I mean, they weren't terrible. Even though they went down 4 goals, they actually had a lot of pretty good opportunities. They probably had more of the ball. They just couldn't. Kind of the issue all season. They couldn't score, and then they allowed some easy goals, kind of a thing. So I guess that's how the season goes. So it doesn't really matter if they're playing well or whatever. They did a bit of rotating here. If you're looking on the screen, Chukwuemeka actually finally got a start for them. Lewis Hall's been starting because they have no one else at left back. A couple more guys are getting starts in there, but Chelsea are home plus 185 to win. And nothing has actually changed, but those odds were plus 170 earlier today. Now they're plus 185 to win. So that's interesting. You got Newcastle plus 145 to win. The draw is plus 255. All right. So what do you think here? Chelsea, short week, playing for their fans, or they just want the season to end here?
They just want the season to end here. They haven't played for their fans yet this season, I think. I don't mean that. It's been a struggle pretty much throughout the season. This full disclosure, this was the excuse me. This is the toughest bet I think this is my last bet of the 10 that I made. I was like, I have no idea what to do with this game, but there's 10 bets, you got to make 10. So I'm gonna go, and I looked at a few different things here. Newcastle, been strong all season, rightfully qualified for the Champions League next season. Chelsea just got beat 4-1. Not a whole lot of, I guess you could say, camaraderie amongst the team. They will be playing this one at Stamford Bridge, so a little bit of a, if you want to call that an advantage, you can. However, I think Newcastle is just too strong for them this season, and particularly in this match. I don't think we see a ton of rotation from Newcastle. I feel like Eddie Howe's the type of manager to be like, all right, we've gotten this far with this lineup. We're going to still start Colin Wilson up front. We're still going to play Bruno Guimaraes in the middle, and then Trippier out front. It's going to be much of the same team that we usually get. I would be surprised to see much rotation there. Whereas Chelsea, they could play any of the 20, 30 players they have that cost a boatload of money. Anyways, despite all that, I took Newcastle money line. This is a parlay here. So Newcastle money line over 1.5 at plus 195. So you're getting some pretty impressive odds. Newcastle money line is also interesting too. I think you said it was plus 145. So you're kind of just getting a little extra here with the over basically 2 goals or more. And then when you look at previous matchups here, Newcastle did win earlier this season at St. James Park. They won 1-0. That was back in November. And then prior to that, Chelsea had pretty much dominated them. But, big thing changed there for Newcastle. And they're back in the Champions League. So, yeah, I'm going to stick with Newcastle money line over 1.5 goals, plus 195. I believe this is the highest odds I'll give on a bet today. So.
Yeah, Newcastle last time out, they confirmed their spot in Champions League, so they are top 4 here. It was a 0-0 draw against Leicester City. They had 23 shots. They gave up 1 shot. Leicester City was just sitting back that whole game, kind of a thing. Something probably Chelsea aren't going to do. So, you look at these teams and it's like, okay, Chelsea, Newcastle. We'll see what Newcastle look like. They're dealing with some injuries. Elliot Anderson started last match, but he played pretty well. Otherwise, they don't have a ton of guys to rotate in there. They're going to need to add some depth for Champions League next season because they're pretty thin, really across almost every position there. But I'm going Newcastle. Newcastle lead the league by about 30 corners. And I'm just straight up just going with Newcastle. I don't think it matters that Chelsea are at home. Their fans probably hate them more than anything. It's not like they're going to be like, okay, yeah, let's get this win for our fans, and we love Frank Lampard and that kind of thing. So I just think that we're getting Newcastle minus 0.5 corners in the first half. So Newcastle to have more corners than Chelsea in the first half, minus 110. Just a simple bet here. Newcastle, I think they're the better team. Not that I don't have to think that, but they are a better team. Shows it in the table, and maybe they're not going to have anything to play for, but anytime you go to Stamford Bridge, for these players, it probably feels good to get a win and put it on a team like Chelsea, who have spent so much money and just, as I just said, want the season to end. So Newcastle minus 0.5 corners first half. Chris has Newcastle money line and over 1.5 goals plus 195. So do you think both teams are going to score in this game?
Oh, that's a good question.
Chelsea got that late one against Manchester United today.
Yeah, I would say I would lean towards no, because Chelsea, just don't score. And actually, when I look at their previous matchups here, and their previous at least 7 matchups, previous 8 matchups has been a goal to nil, which is pretty wild in Chelsea and Newcastle's matchups.
Okay.
So both teams have not scored in their past 8 matchups. So I don't know. I lean towards no in that case.
Yeah, I was gonna say this. The thing with Chelsea is that just the way that they're playing and kind of just want the season to end. Like a lot of these games have had goals because they've been a little more back and forth. Outside of that Manchester City one, which is 1-0. So just something to think about there. Next match, we got Crystal Palace at home against Nottingham Forest. Crystal Palace are minus 145. This was minus 125 earlier in the week. This is one of the games I was looking at to bet in my article, and the odds just kept moving up on me as the week moved along. But they're now minus 145 to win at home. Crystal Palace is. Nottingham Forest are plus 380 to win. Draw is plus 320. As I said earlier, Nottingham Forest got the big win against Arsenal last weekend, so they escaped relegation. They partied last weekend, so they're in the Premier League again. Now this game doesn't mean anything, which probably has part of the reason why Crystal Palace are now up to minus 145. So what do you think here? Easy win for Crystal Palace, or does Nottingham Forest have something here, even though I think they've been the worst team away from home all season?
Are we sharp bettors for trying to weigh how much the team has partied in the past week? Or should is that something that we should?
I think it's going into the bet. I mean, people are betting it like that, minus 125 to minus 145. That's all like the amount of beer consumed for Forest, right?
Yeah, I guess so. But yeah, I mean, kudos to Forest for staying up. They did spend a ton of money to do it on players. Yeah, so I mean, it worked. But yeah, this is one of those games you're like, oh, Crystal Palace Forest. This is probably the one of the 10 that I will not be watching. That being said, they had they played earlier this season, and I believe Forest actually won that one. They were at home 1-0. Other than that, it's been kind of a Palace up and down. They're on their second manager, I believe, for the season. Forest have found a bit more consistency towards the tail half of the season. But for me, I took the safest bet that I could think of because I have no idea what to do with these teams. I think, this is likely a 1-1 or, a 2-1 maybe. So I'm going, you can do the total goal bands, which has been a really friendly, safe space for me in terms of bets this season. You can get 2 to 3 goals. It's plus 110. You're just betting that 2 to 3 goals are scored, probably one of the most common scores there. So if you don't feel strongly towards Palace at home, or you don't think Nottingham Forest is going to go in and get a result to end the season, then just go with a bit more safer bet here, and that's 2-3 goals scored plus 110.
Yeah, compare this one to Crystal Palace home against Bournemouth week or two ago. There was 2-0 result. Bournemouth, I think they were also coming off of the game in which they confirmed themselves to be in the Premier League next season, and just similar situation here in Nottingham Forest. Throw in that they're bad away from home. I think it's just going to be like Crystal Palace. Roy Hodgson, we'll see if he's there next season. I guess that's the big question for them right now, because since he took over, they moved up the table. They're going to finish 11th in the table. So be at 2 or 3 goals scored. Makes sense. I don't think this is going to be a wild game by any means, but I'm going Crystal Palace minus 1.25 corners in the first half. That's minus 110. While neither team has anything to play for, I just think Crystal Palace are going to kind of control this one from the start, and they're pretty good at getting corners. Michael Elise has a ton of corners. He's up there with Trippier in terms of, average amount of crosses and corners per match. And I also looked at Crystal Palace over 6.5 corners, but on the possibility that they slow things down in the second half and maybe they finish at 5 or 6 corners or something, I'm just going with this first half bet on them. Minus 1.25 corners in the first half for Crystal Palace. It's minus 110. Chris's bet is plus 110. That's 2 to 3 goals scored in the game. All right, Chris, we're halfway through. Do we need a beer break, or are we just ready to go here? You're already at number 2. All right.
Ready to go.
All right, good.
Once again, like you mentioned, a Rubens Brews Pilsner here as numero dos.
Very, very drinkable Rubens Pils.
Yeah. We're on to game 6.
Game 6 actually means something here. We're talking about relegation. We're talking about Everton. They're home against Bournemouth. Everton are minus 220 to score. Bournemouth are now plus 600. For some reason, it was plus 550 for all week. Now it's plus 600 as of today. The draw is plus 380. So can Everton do it? Can Everton stay in the Premier League? Can Sean Dyche get them there? What do you think?
They definitely have the upper hand. The Athletic had an article earlier today that did a really good job of describing, all the scenarios for how Leeds, Leicester City, and Everton can either go down or stay up. Everton have a 1-point advantage here on Leicester, or a 2-point advantage. So a draw pretty much would get them in, because they do have a pretty strong goal difference on Leeds United. They actually don't. If Leicester were to win, they would be in some trouble because Leicester have a better goal difference than Everton does. So definitely they have to go for the win here. They can't they're going to be doing a little bit of watching other games, that's for sure. But Bournemouth been pretty good. We talked about the futures bets that we started the season off with, and Bournemouth, actually, sitting, I believe they're 12th, 13th, 15th in the table, 39 points, very, safe. So for me, I honestly think Bournemouth is a funny bet, and Everton, what do we say? Minus 220 odds to win this game. That's they're. I guess scenarios here. The odds makers are really favoring the scenarios, which is Everton needing to get a win, Bournemouth not having much to play for. But I just have a really difficult time thinking that we can get Everton as a minus 220 favorite here. So I'm gonna take Bournemouth double chance, which means a win and or draw. Your bet hits that way, and you can get the double chance at plus 175, which is really strong odds for a double chance bet for a team that is currently 17th in the table and has 33 points. So I get the scenarios. I get you have to make certain bets for things that are out there, but I just have a difficult time seeing Everton as a minus 220 favorite and not taking the other team as a double chance bet.
Yeah, I was pulling up a similar situation to last season. Burnley, was Dyche still the manager in the final match, or did he get fired by then?
I feel like they had gone to the secondary manager right prior to that, because I thought they got a bit of a bump where they had won a few games.
Yeah,
And then
Okay.
it was like maybe like eight games left or so. I don't know for sure, but I thought that they had gone out and won a few games right after they got rid of Dyche.
Yeah, because those notes I sent you earlier, because I know that Burnley, I thought they were favored in that final game, but maybe they weren't even favored. They lost. They were in a situation where I think it was win and stay in the league, and then they lost 2-1
Yeah,
in a home match. But maybe a different situation here. Again, Bournemouth haven't really, they've rotated a little bit, and you're already a team in the bottom half of the table, rotating your players. I think they've lost every match since they were confirmed to stay in the Premier League. The one side of your bet with Bournemouth is just like, okay, well, Everton aren't a good team, so let's just go to the other side. Let's just not bet on Everton because they haven't been a good team all season. But I might be a little bit on the Everton side. I think they've been playing well. It's just getting that final goal kind of thing. On the other side of that, they don't have a healthy left back. They don't have a healthy right back. Dwight McNeil played left back last game, maybe more of a wing back kind of thing. James Garner is playing on the wing, maybe even Michael Keane playing kind of a right back. So they don't really have their guys. Calvert-Lewin, I don't think he's going to be ready to start. He's injured again. So they don't have their defenders. They don't have their striker. You could look at that and go with Chris's bet here. Double chance. It's plus 175. Either way, I got a corners bet here. So I think last few matches, maybe last 5 matches, Everton have come out in the first half, put it on teams, and in one game against Brighton, it happened where they actually scored. All the other games, they had trouble scoring, and this one doesn't even matter if they score or not. But Everton minus 1.25 corners in the first half. That's minus 120. I think it's going to be like Everton, 5 corners in the first half. Maybe Bournemouth will get one off a counter or something. But I think they're just going to smash them here in terms of corners, not in terms of the game. We'll see if they can actually score. It was they've had many times where they've needed these late goals kind of out of nothing. I think Yerry Mina, he got the goal in the last game, which was in the last second to have them in this spot to get the draw last game. And we'll see how Bournemouth play. Maybe they won't be playing the same as at Wolverhampton, but either way, Everton minus 1.25 corners in the first half is minus 120. Chris's Bournemouth double chance plus 175. Yeah, let's go ahead.
Historical context. Bournemouth has won each of the past 4 games against Everton. 3-1, 3-1, 4-1, and then 3-0 earlier this season.
Yeah, when was 3 years ago, the prior couple?
Yeah, it would have been the 1920 season that one of those matches was behind closed doors.
Is this a Frank Lampard team? Carlo Ancelotti. Holy cow. It was the Ancelotti season.
Back the clock.
It was Eddie Howe.
They've already played twice this season. This is the 3rd time they're playing this season. They played in the League Cup.
EFL Cup. And that's
Premier League, also in November. In a matter of 4 days.
It might have been when Frank Lampard was fired. Either way, I'm looking at these prior results, and it was Eddie Howe for Bournemouth against Marco Silva and then Carlo Ancelotti of Everton. Just crazy times, crazy times. So next game we got to keep going with this relegation talk here because we got Leeds, our home, against Tottenham. Leeds are plus 180 to win. Tottenham are plus 135. And the draw is plus 285. As said earlier, Leeds, they are 2 points back. They need to win. Simple as that. They need to win. They cannot afford a draw. They need to win to stay up here. Tottenham still slightly fighting for that 7th place, the Europa Conference League place. They are 1 point behind Aston Villa, as we said earlier. So they'll still be fighting. And I think there's just going to be goals in this game. It screams goals. Tottenham screwed me on a bet last week. We had a team parlay. I had the money line, and then before the game, it was like, okay, Pierre Højbjerg is out, and then Pedro Porro is not starting, and something weird also was in the lineup, and it was like, okay, well, that's kind of dumb here. So we'll see how Tottenham line up. I mean, Ryan Mason kind of went for it by benching Porro. I think Højbjerg may have been hurt, but either way, we'll see how they line up in this one. I think no matter what he does, there's going to be goals. Just the way these two teams are here. So what do you got in this game, Chris?
I like the idea of goals in this game. It makes a fair bit of sense here. Leeds, of course, as I mentioned when we were talking about the relegation scrap, in a really unfavorable spot in terms of goal difference. So they're going to need to play, as they have, pretty attacking. But aside from that, they're a terrible defensive team. They have given up goals and goals and goals. So they have actually given up the most goals in the Premier League this season. They've given up 74 goals. 74 goals in 37 matches. 2 goals. I mean, I'm not a mathematician here, but that's a lot of goals.
You should be. That's good math.
Yeah, thanks. But anyways, I wanted to go just like bang over 3.5 or something like that, and just like take all of the goals in this game, which you could, because historically you look at they played earlier this season, November, it was 4-3. Previous season it was 4-0 Tottenham. Tottenham won the seasons before that 2-1, 3-1, 3-0, 2-1. 3-1, a lot of goals. Even some of those are almost 10 years ago. So, but anyways, Harry Kane, the guy just scores goals for fun. Of course, he is, once again enjoying a rich vein of form here. He has scored, I believe, in his last 4 games and in 5 of his past 6 games. So he's really turned it on as of late. And I wanted to do a Holland anytime goal scoring bet, but of course those odds are too crazy. You can't get any value. Mohamed Salah is another idea, but I was like, Harry, I want to go for the game. And I didn't look at the cheat sheet before this, but I have to believe this has one of the higher over total goals, implied goal totals. But I'm taking Harry Kane to score -120. Really easy bet here. All you expect him to do is score, put the ball in the back of the net, and you get your money back. But -120, so decent odds. And yeah, I didn't want to complicate this one too much.
You should read my article right after the show and check out what my bet is here. I almost wrote exactly what you said here. So no complaints about this bet. Leeds are going to allow goals, and Harry Kane is scoring almost every game. So I mean, it should be like -150, -160 here, but we're getting -120 and Harry Kane to score. So as we get,
do you have a Harry Kane anytime goal scoring odds or anytime goal scoring bet in your article?
There might be. You can also get Harry Kane to be the first goal scorer and the last goal scorer at +340.
Give the people what they want here. That's great.
Yeah, so there you go. My bets are starting to come a little bit off the rails as we get to match number 10. So I got Tottenham race to 5 corners +175. Seems like a good number. So I grabbed it. I mean, why can't Tottenham have more corners? I know Leeds have to push. They need the win, but just because a terrible team has to push doesn't mean they're going to be able to. Doesn't mean they're going to be able to get corners. Patrick Bamford went off injured last game. They're kind of down to Sam Allardyce is kind of down to a lot of weird formations, different players in the lineups. Like Adam Forshaw has been starting lately. Maybe he's played fine, but a lot of guys have been hurt, and he's kind of down options. And I mean, Tottenham are going to be playing for the win. Maybe that doesn't mean anything either. Maybe you could say Tottenham aren't very good away from home either, but whatever. They're a better team than Leeds. So if you're getting +175 on them to hit 5 corners first, I think that's a pretty good number to take. So that's what I'm going with here.
Nice. I had to go and look at your article while you were talking to figure. We basically said the exact same thing. So we're the Kits and Wagers. We're on game week 38. It's honestly like we're talking to each other all year. So that's good to see.
Great minds think alike here.
Yes, truly.
Next game we got, conveniently, alphabetically, we got the 3 relegated teams are all back to back here in terms of our conversation. So we got Leicester City. They are home against West Ham. They're -105 to win. And the interesting thing about looking at these odds right now for West Ham, they went from +195 to win 4 days ago. Now they're at +260 to win. You can get the draw at +300, but it just seems like I guess they're assuming that maybe West Ham are either they're going to rotate a ton or they're going to be in a situation where they don't want to win. I don't actually agree with that because, West Ham are just a better team. And if Leicester are pushing, that's just going to open them up for, counters for for whoever, Danny Ings, Jared Bowen kind of a thing. And their defense is already bad. So it's kind of interesting that the odds are moving that much away from West Ham to win. Because, as I just said, just because Leicester have to win doesn't mean they're going to. But what do you got, Chris?
Yeah, interesting. They have the best goal difference of the 3 relegation inflicted teams. So this one's tough. I think of the teams that that are playing on Sunday that are going to rotate the most, I feel like it would be West Ham. They have nothing to play for except for a huge European Conference League final, and that's in two weeks, a week and a half, I guess. That's probably like a Wednesday or Thursday. But that they really are going to play for that. So I'd be surprised to see Rice. I'd be surprised to see Antonio, who's consistently feels like he picks up little knocks. Paqueta, some of those.
Well, this is the final tune-up, though. They got 10 days until that game. You don't want a final tune-up here?
I don't think so. I'm more of the idea that like they're about to play the biggest game that they've played in. Well, I think was the last time they won A, silverware, and B was in like European competition. It was like this had to have been like the 70s, like Bobby Charlton days type of stuff. I think he was the last captain to. I want to don't quote me here, but win silverware or win a European title with West Ham. So it's been many years, and I feel like David Moyes is a pretty heady guy and usually plays it safe. So I would think that they would rotate a lot, and we'd see some whether it's youngsters or B and C squad players here in this game. So that being said, this one was a tough bet for me. I feel like there's Leicester, they just grinded out that 0-0 draw. I feel like they're in which they sat James Maddison and Harvey Barnes, I believe, too. Neither of those players were in the starting 11. I'm expecting under goals here. I actually have a 1-2 goal bands bet for this at plus 140, but I also entertained the under 2.5 at plus 120. I went for the 1-2 goal bands because you get better odds, and I don't think this is a 0-0 draw. And I'd rather get the plus 20 there to take the 1-2 goals scored. So low scoring affair. I don't know who wins it. Leicester City maybe going to probably try to play counter like they typically do, but they're gonna, if they win, I believe they're in a bit better place than Leeds is if Leeds wins. Mm-hmm. A win here in an Everton draw would likely get Leicester City back into the Premier League for next season.
Do you think it's the same style of play from Dean Smith and Leicester here? They did it against Newcastle. It's like, we're going to play safe. We're going to be a little more defensive. And then maybe later in the game, we're going to go for it instead of, playing up and down, kind of opening ourselves up to, just allowing goals and then forcing ourselves to have to score more than we're able to score kind of a thing. So that's kind of what you're going with.
Yeah. I'm 100% like first 45 minutes is maybe the worst game you've ever seen. And then we'll see a second half that opens up quite a bit as Leicester try to go out and get a winner.
As we just said, great minds think alike. Under 4.5 corners in the first half, that's minus 105. Basically what Chris just said. I unlike Everton, I don't think this Leicester team is going to go for it right from the bat. I don't think Dean Smith wants his team to go for it right from the start. They're playing terrible. He knows that they're pretty terrible. He put in 5 defenders in their last game, might do that again. Dealing with some injuries. We'll see who starts. I think Ndidi went off in that last game. Evans had something wrong as well, but I think it was only a knock that might be fine. But either way, and then you throw in West Ham. It's like, okay, if they do rotate, what are they going to do? Already a team that's been pretty solid at limiting corners this season. So I don't think it's going to be a game where it's like, okay, Leicester are pressing and getting 5 corners in the first half because they're dominating. I don't think that they even have the quality to be able to do that. So under 4.5 corners in the first half, minus 105. Chris has 1-2 goals scored at plus 140. Next game we got here is we're winding down. Manchester United. They confirmed their top 4 spot in the table today. They got that 4-1 win against Chelsea. But as you can see in the line movement here, the odds have dropped here. And I guess partly because people were assuming that they were they were going to confirm their spot in Champions League today. So these odds, it was minus 245 earlier in the week for Manchester United to win. Now it's minus 190. We could see rotation, but again, Eric Ten Hag is a guy who hasn't really rotated much this season. Of note, Antony looks like he suffered possibly a serious injury. He was stretchered off today. Luke Shaw has a back issue. I don't think Luke Shaw is going to be starting because he doesn't need to play. He went 45 minutes today, so we get Malacia in there. We'll see if Rashford starts. Assume all these other guys will start, but Rashford's coming off an injury. Fulham, plus 475 to win. Draw is plus 360. Before I shoot it over to you, I do want to say that someone today, Fulham released a video today, and the player was saying that they're going to treat this game like a final because if they can get a win or maybe even a point from this game, this would be the most points that Fulham has ever had in the Premier League. So I don't know. It sounds like they're playing for something. I don't know if that's just talk and maybe they're not going to show it, but I thought that was pretty interesting to hear. So what do you think about that though?
Sounds like they got a really good marketing or social media guy.
I think it was like Paulinho maybe saying that. I think one of their captains, maybe someone was saying that.
Yeah, sounds like whoever's running those channels is like, all right, I got to pump this game up for me. That means nothing. But
most points in club history in the Premier League. Come on,
let's put this plaque, most points, right next to whatever silverware.
This goes down in history.
Like it means something in a season where their most points gets them up to top half on the table. So
now the last time these teams played was when Mitrovic got his 8-game ban when he was yelling at the refs. These teams hate each other.
They hate you. Wow, let's game week 38. We're bringing the noise here.
Wow. This is a good game. I'm gonna watch this one.
Yeah, you're locked into this one apparently. Wow, I'm rethinking everything I thought about this bet now because you're so locked in on this bet. But Manchester United been a little bit behind Manchester City in terms of the most points collected at home this season. But they've been the best defensive team at home all season. They've played 18 matches at home, and they have conceded 9 goals. So that said, I'm going to go for this bet. This is our second to last bet. I'm going both teams to score no at plus 130. And, frankly, where I'm seeing this bet go is Manchester United a win to nil. So if you really want to get more in depth here, you could go that way. But I think United win this one. Fulham, good for them. Great season, top half. Well done. Keep it moving. Let's take it. Both teams to score no at plus. I think I said 130.
Yeah, plus 130. So this is my crazy bet, and
plus 360. Jeez,
I wrote this down before even considering the last game. So as I said, when Mitrovic got suspended, when Willian got suspended, both those guys were sent off in this FA Cup game. So this game was at Old Trafford, and Fulham were up 1-0 when Mitrovic lost his head a little bit. Then Willian got involved in it. Both those guys are sent off, and then Manchester United got 3 goals in the final 20 minutes of that game. But they were up. Fulham still finished with 7 corners in that game. Manchester United had 6 corners in that game. We got to take into account, we got the possible Manchester United celebrations tonight. They're not going to be, maybe they'll be past that come Saturday. So they got all Friday to drink a little bit, recover Saturday, then they'll play Sunday. So I'm going Fulham, race to 5 corners, plus 360. Mitrovic hates these guys. Everyone hates these guys. Marco Silva hates these guys. Manchester United, Malacia is going to get the start maybe at left back. He's had an iffy season. We're not going to get Antony in there. These guys are tired. Rashford is coming off an injury. Might get some rotation. Why not? Plus 360. I think this should be closer to even here in terms of who's getting to 5 corners first. And you're getting plus 360 on Fulham, race to 5 corners. Manchester United. I think Chelsea actually today had more corners than Manchester United. If you want to go a little smaller here, you could do Fulham race to 3 corners if you don't think they're getting to 5. That one, I can't remember what it was, but probably plus 200, something like that. But Chris, plus 360 bet. This is going to, so at the end of it, are we just taking records in this competition? Or are we doing money in terms of, $100 bets on these ones?
This would have been a good question to ask before we made all of our bets, but I don't know, impressive that you're going for a plus 360. I love the tenacity, I guess you could say, the confidence, but I like your reasoning no less. But that's a big time bet if you make it, and can you get back up over 3,000 for the season?
Yes.
This could go a long way to helping that.
This one's going to hit easily, I think. This is my favorite bet now. It's my favorite bet.
All right, cool.
Steve is saying no alcohol left in Manchester because Manchester City drank it all. That's a good point. It's a good point. I think
How far
Pep said,
Manchester United fallen that they're emptying the alcohol in Manchester?
I think Pep said all the beer was gone, though.
Yeah, I'm not salty at all, I swear.
I think there's plenty of vodka, right? I mean,
they're probably they're professional players. They're probably not crushing beers. They're probably
plenty of scotch.
Clear liquors. Yeah.
Right.
You think they're drinking scotch?
Yeah, celebrations.
They're like a Sir Alex Ferguson in there. Scotch? What do you?
Cigars and scotch.
Or, I don't think I don't know. Do players drink tequila sodas? Is that a thing over there?
No.
I have no idea. Probably
I don't
not.
know.
I think that's much more of a U.S. thing. But all right, Steve gave us some context clues here on strictly alcohol, but yes, probably they've had a couple of beverages in the past week.
Yeah. Chris has no on both teams to score. That's plus 130. I got Fulham raised to 5 corners plus 360. Conveniently for Chris, we finish on his final team, on his team, not his final team, on his team. 10th match we're talking about. We made it. Southampton, our home, against Liverpool. Liverpool, they don't have anything to play for because Manchester United, they got a point today. Or technically, they got 3 points, but Southampton, they're bottom of the table, plus 650 to win. Liverpool are minus 260, draws plus 450. This is a game that could just blow up in Southampton's face if they show up and don't really care, or they can show up and be like, "Hey fans, we're gonna try. We're gonna try and at least do something in this game." Granted, they could try and allow a goal, and then they could give up and allow 5 goals. But what do you think is going to happen here, Chris, for your team? Are we going to get some rotation? I think we're going to get, Firmino starting. We'll maybe get James Milner starting. We'll get the legend starting in their final game, kind of a thing. But is that going to have any effect here on Liverpool's performance, though?
I think Southampton are pretty done and dusted. They're obviously, last time they'll be playing in the Premier League, and this could potentially be for a while. I feel like I don't know how well set up they are to come to do the old bounce back from Championship to Premier League. We'll see. I actually saw they've been, there was, as I was looking at Everton relegation, Everton have been in the league in top flight English football for 69 years. Just behind Arsenal, who have been in top flight football for 97 years, which is pretty crazy. But shortly down the list was, I believe it was Liverpool, United, Manchester City, and then right up there was Southampton for 10, I think 11 seasons they've been in the Premier League, which is good for them. A little small club down there on the South Coast. But whatever you want to call it, I think it's like a 3-0 game or a 3-1 game here. I'm taking Liverpool minus 1.5 in this game because despite all of the rotation that we see, I think that they'll go out there and probably still take it to them. And I believe we had that bet at
minus 110.
Minus 110, so pretty safe. You're getting plus odds, and I think we probably see Gakpo's bench, Salah. We might see Tsimikas at left back. Firmino definitely getting some minutes. Tough to see him go to Anfield last weekend. Good to see him get that equalizer. But I just minus 1.5. Southampton they don't have the power to stay in this match, and it's kind of like a sayonara to the Premier League.
Sayonara. Yeah, Steve is asking us if we saw Mo Salah's tweet today. I just looked it up, and he was just like devastated, unacceptable that we didn't not finish in a Champions League spot, kind of a thing. sorry, this is not motivating or whatever, but we got to be better in this. And Steve is saying he's a lock to score because of that. So we'll see.
He might be. I think he's on 19 goals right now. So
yeah, I have over 20 and a half.
Yeah. So let's Mo Salah hat trick. Let's see it, man.
I'll take it.
And then next season when we do our futures podcast, inevitably, and I still have hope in my heart.
We're gonna bet Jamie Vardy in the championship.
Yeah, I do one more Jamie Vardy bet in the championship just for all time's sake. I do Salah most goals scored in Liverpool to win the league. So it'll come August, it'll be a different story. But interesting, Mo's the ledge. So that's all I can say about him.
Yeah, Chris has Liverpool -1.5 as -110 odds. I'm taking a second half bet, I think, for the first time today here. So under 4.5 corners in the second half is -115. So I really don't think there's going to be a ton. I mean, maybe we'll get goals in this game, but the way Liverpool play, I think there's going to be, a lot of possession here, and I don't think they're going to be attacking, full-on attack, especially in the second half. So what are we going to get in the second half? Just like teams passing to each other. I mean, it could be up and down. It could be wild, but I don't know if I really see that from Liverpool. If they're, if they're already up a goal or two or something like that, I just see them like, okay, yeah, let's just Southampton are pressing us. So we're going to, just go after it. And there's going to be a ton of corners, but I just don't think there's going to be a ton that happens in the second half in this game because Liverpool, those guys don't want to get hurt. A lot of guys saying goodbye. In Southampton, they're just, they're sad. They're crying. They want this season to end. So under 4.5 corners in the second half, -115. There we go, Chris. All right, what's your team parlay pick?
Oh, we're doing a team parlay pick.
No, I'm just kidding. That's too many bets.
I got one ready if we need one.
No. Oh, you have an extra bet?
Yeah, our guy Steven Parada since he's such a big Mo Salah fan. I think we could probably get Salah anytime goal scoring odds, right?
Yeah, he's probably around that Harry Kane range of -120.
Yeah, -120. If I could ever, too many names on DraftKings here, but
he is -120. Firmino is -120 as well.
I'd rather go Salah in this case, but
should we look up James Milner +500?
Jamie Vardy.
Vardy.
Could we parlay Vardy Salah or
+175?
That would be an absurd bet. That's probably like +300-ish. Anyways,
probably a little more than that. There we go. We are 62 minutes in, Chris. That's it. So what's the prize? Just a pat on the back, or what are we going with here?
I mean, I don't know what the prize is. These are things you decide before you make all your bets.
Probably. We're probably going to go 20-0. I think we're going 20-0.
Should we ever perhaps run across each other here in person? I think a good cold beer is probably what we should wager here.
It's got to be a good one.
Yeah.
It's got to be a good one. I got the cheat sheet pulled up here. We talked about all of these games. We got as Chris mentioned, the implied goal total in that Tottenham Leeds one, it is 3.28, but is not the highest. Surprisingly, maybe not surprisingly, it's the Liverpool Southampton one, which is above 3.4. So we got a fun Sunday ahead of us. What are you going to be watching? Liverpool? Is that the game you're going to be watching, or are you going to have multiple screens? What are you going to be doing for these?
Yeah, this is a multi-screen situation. And I've actually already thought about this. I will be of course, the big screen will be Liverpool. The next screen, I think I kind of was thinking that we'll get the Leicester West Ham, and then I don't know if I have the heart to watch. I could probably watch Everton fail, but
you got your double chance. You got the double chance.
Yeah. So the key here is I'm gonna have to get the screens going. But yeah, Liverpool on the big screen, and then I'll probably just watch the relegation scrap. And also the F1 Grand Prix, I think, is maybe going on at the same time. But we'll see. You're
not going to have that on.
I'll be finishing at that time.
All right. Chris has to eat dinner here. You can find Chris at CHRON8 on Twitter. I am at Zdroik. Thank you, everyone, for watching Kits and Wagers all season. It's been fun. It's been a blast, as you can see on the screen. If you've bet with us, you're up money. 61-38 for me, 47-44-2 for Chris. We're up on the team parlay. What is this? We're up more than what is this? Oh, 4. Is that correct? That number's not correct, is it? Okay, no, it is. No, it's not.
You're the keeper. I just get on the spot and I make ridiculous bets. You keep the numbers.
All right. Well, ignore the overall up part because that number is incorrect. I clearly did not finish editing this graphic, but either way, we're up more than close to $4,000 combined on this show if you're doing $100 bets. If you're only doing $10 bets, you're up $400, something like that. So pretty easy. You're up money. So thank you everyone for watching. You can find us. Maybe we'll be here. Maybe we'll be doing stuff on MLS over the summer kind of thing.
We got a Women's World Cup coming up, dude.
We got a Women's World Cup coming up. Chris is going to be heavy grinding those games,
absolutely
grinding the unders and over 10.5 goals for when the USA plays. I don't know,
Thailand or something.
Thailand. That's a good point. Vietnam or something like that for the 12-0 win, something like that. But Chris, thanks for the season. Thanks for the bets. And good luck. Good luck on Sunday. Good luck.
Thanks. We'll be back next season for our third season. Once again, thanks for everyone who's tuned in this season and subscribe to the channel, watch us on YouTube, listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcast. But appreciate having this soccer betting community. So, anyways, I'm gonna go almost out of a beer here. It's Friday, Junior. I got the day off tomorrow. I got the day off Monday.
Wow.
Got a round of golf in the morning, so I'm gonna go lock in. Adam, I wish you the best of luck this weekend. I got to go 3-7 to finish even for the season, which was my goal when I set out back in August, and we'll see what happens with that. But thanks for doing the pod here this season.